Before she even zipped her suitcase, she looked at me like I was already left behind. She didn't hesitate. She didn't soften it. "My friends think you're a joke," she said, adjusting her coat in the mirror. "And honestly, I don't defend you anymore." I didn't respond right away, because the part that hurt wasn't what she said. It was how easy it was for her to say it. Her name was Sloane Harrington, and if you knew her world, you'd understand why that sentence felt heavier than it sounded. We lived in Westport, Connecticut, not the kind of place people grow into, the kind they're born into. Sloane came from that world. Her father owned 3 investment firms. Her mother chaired a charity board that hosted events where people whispered about each other while smiling publicly. And me? I was Nolan Pierce. I built my life from nothing that anyone in her circle would respect. I ran a logistics consulting business. Quiet money. No headlines. No flashy dinners. To her friends, that made me invisible. But to Sloane, at least at the beginning, it didn't seem to matter. We met at a charity fundraiser. She was standing alone near the back, watching people perform wealth instead of living it. I made a comment about it. She laughed. Not politely, genuinely. And for a while, that laugh felt like the most honest thing in her life. We dated for 2 years, and somewhere along the way, her world started pulling her back. Not suddenly, not aggressively, just quietly. Little comments, small corrections, subtle embarrassments. She'd introduce me as Nolan. He works in logistics. Instead of Nolan, he owns his company. At dinners, she'd steer conversations away from me. At events, she'd leave me mid-sentence to greet someone important. It wasn't rejection. It was erosion. And you don't notice erosion until something collapses. That morning, as she packed for her trip to Aspen with her friends, it finally collapsed. "My friends think you're a joke. And honestly, I don't defend you anymore." She didn't say it with anger. She said it like a conclusion, like something she had already processed and moved past. I leaned against the doorway. "You believe that?" I asked quietly. She paused, just for a second. Then she shrugged. "I think you're comfortable being underestimated." That sentence landed differently, because it wasn't entirely wrong. I didn't chase attention. I didn't correct people. I didn't prove anything unless it mattered. And in her world, that looked like weakness. She zipped her suitcase. "I'll be gone for a week," she said. "Try not to overthink this." And just like that, she walked past me. No epaligi, no hosetashin, just the sound of her heels fading down the hallway. The house felt bigger after she left. Quieter, colder, but not empty. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't distracted by trying to fit into her world. I sat down in the living room, and I asked myself something I had been avoiding for months. Was I actually being underestimated, or was I allowing it? Before we go further, drop in the comments and tell me this. If someone you loved stopped defending you in front of others, would you stay silent, or would you walk away? Because that question sat with me longer than anything she said. The next few days were quiet. No texts from her, no check-ins, but plenty of activity online. Photos of Aspen, champagne glasses, private lounges, smiles that looked effortless, and captions that hinted at something else. Surround yourself with people who match your energy. That one stayed with me, because I knew exactly who it was about. Her friends were exactly who you'd expect. Margot Thornton, Vivian Aldridge, Reed Calloway, people who measure value by visibility. And I wasn't visible enough for them. But here's the part Sloane didn't fully understand. I wasn't invisible. I was just selective. By midweek, I had a meeting scheduled in New York. A contract negotiation I had been quietly working on for months. A national distribution deal that would expand my company into 3 new regions. The kind of deal that doesn't make headlines, but changes everything. I didn't tell her about it, not because I was hiding it, but because I realized something. I've been trying to earn respect in a space where respect wasn't actually given. It was performed. The meeting went exactly as planned. Clean, efficient, decisive. By the end of it, the deal was signed. And just like that, everything shifted. Not publicly, not dramatically, but internally. Because for the first time, I stopped wondering if I needed to prove myself. I didn't. The proof was already there. I just hadn't been standing in it. Sloane came back 2 days later. Sun-kissed, relaxed, and slightly distant. She dropped her bag near the entrance. Trip was good, she said casually. I nodded. Glad to hear that. She looked at me. Really looked this time. There was something different in her expression. Not guilt. Not regret. Curiosity. You seem different, she said. I smiled slightly. Maybe I am. She walked into the kitchen. Opened the fridge. Routine movements. Familiar space. But something fell off between us. Like we were no longer standing in the same version of the relationship. We went to this private event, she said, almost testing the conversation. You would have hated it. Probably, I replied. She waited for more. For engagement. For reaction. But I didn't give her one. And that unsettled her more than anything. Did you do anything while I was gone? She asked. I paused. Not because I didn't want to answer, but because I wanted to answer honestly. Yes, I said. I closed the deal. She nodded slowly. Okay, a big one, I added. Now she paid attention. How big? I looked at her, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to minimize it. Big enough that I don't need to be in rooms where I'm not respected. Silence. Real silence this time. She set her glass down. What does that mean? It means, I said calmly, I'm done trying to be understood by people who already decided who I am. She crossed her arms. Defensive now. So, this is about my friends? No, I said. It's about you. That landed. Because she knew exactly what I meant. You didn't defend me. I continued. You agreed with them. She looked away. It wasn't that simple, she said quietly. It was, I replied. You just didn't think it mattered. And that was the real issue. Not what her friends thought, but what she chose to accept. She walked toward the window. Looked outside. I didn't realize it affected you like that, she said. And that was the moment everything became clear. It didn't affect me. It revealed her. Before we go further, be honest with yourself. If someone only respects you when others do, is that really respect or just convenience? Because that realization changes how you see everything. I think we want different things, I said finally. She turned back. Quickly. What does that mean? It means, I said, you want to be in rooms where people approve of you. And you don't, she challenged. I want to be in rooms where I don't need approval. That difference was everything. She stared at me, trying to find the version of me she was used to. The one who stayed quiet. The one who adjusted. But that version wasn't there anymore. So what are you saying? I took a breath. I'm saying, I'm not a joke. She didn't interrupt. But I stayed in a situation where I was treated like one. Another pause. And that part. I added. That's on me. She softened slightly. Nolan. But I shook my head. This isn't about blame. It's about clarity. Because sometimes the hardest part isn't being disrespected. It's realizing you allowed it. We didn't argue. We didn't raise our voices. We just stood there. Two people who finally saw each other clearly. And sometimes clarity is quieter than conflict. She nodded slowly. I didn't expect this, she admitted. I didn't either, I said. But that's the truth about moments like this. They don't arrive loudly. They arrive honestly. And honesty changes everything.